Welcome to Mommy's on a Call, your sacred space to laugh, learn, and feel like a real grown-up human for a hot minute. I'm Stephanie Uchima Carney, a mom of 3 under 6, serial entrepreneur, business strategist, and donut connoisseur, just trying to get through the day one cold cup of coffee at a time. I believe that with more intention, a positive mindset, and self-care, it is possible to thrive in motherhood, business, and life. My mission is to uncover the daily rituals, life lessons, real-life tactics, and favorite tools to inspire and empower you, mommy, to get the most out of life every single unpredictable day. So grab your headphones, tell your kids you're on the potty, and tune in weekly for some laughs, knowledge bombs, and plenty of real talk with real moms, and maybe a dad or two. Welcome to the Mommy Pod. Hello, mommies, and welcome back to the podcast. You might notice something a little different this week. The podcast not only got a little bit of a rebranding revamp, it's a little bit brighter, a lot of hot pink, and a lot more fun. But the big news is that there's actually a new name. So welcome to Mommy's on a Call podcast. For those of you who are new, this podcast used to be called the Power Mom Minute. And over the last few months, a lot has changed, and I felt that the podcast no longer fit what I was going for and my intentions of it. So I decided that it needed a little bit of a revamp. When I started this podcast, I was pregnant with kid number 3. But really, when I came up with the original idea for the podcast, I only had 1 kid. And transitioning from 1 kid to 3 kids in the last 2 years, also going from a full-time working mom in an office to an entrepreneurial mom, a lot has changed. And over the last 3 years, I've gone through a lot of personal development and just really thinking about motherhood, business, and life. And so I wanted to incorporate that all into this new podcast. I felt that the Power Mom Minute was a little bit masculine. It was a little bit too type A and go-getter. And while that's great, I wanted to incorporate more of my wellness side and more of my woo-woo side and a little bit more about being a mom and what that means to truly thrive in all of that. I wanted to give a backstory on how this came about so you get a feel for what this podcast is the vibe of it. I'm in this mastermind group, and during COVID, we've been meeting almost every other day, just in the mornings, to work and have these working sessions. And part of it is asking questions, things that are coming up. And one of the things that I realized when I was really focusing and thinking about my business is, where do I want to take this? What do I want to do next? And with the limited time, having 3 kids, mind you, right now I have a 6-month-old, I was really deep diving into where do I want this to go and what do I want to do. After a lot of thought, you can listen on the previous episode, I talk about this, I realized I really wanted to go all in on the podcast. It's something that I love doing. I love bringing in inspirational people. I love sharing ideas, just all of this stuff. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to go all in, but it really needs a new name. It doesn't feel like me anymore. And I realized these podcasts were not just a minute or even 20 minutes like I said I would do. So I brought some names on kind of how I wanted my audience to feel about the podcast. Some of the names were like Modern Business Mama or Recharge Mama or Reboot Mama, or something to do with tribes like Your New Mom Tribe. And nothing really was sticking. And my mentor was quizzing me and just asking me a lot of questions about why did you pick, Recharge Mama, or what do you want to see? And I'm here recording this in like the middle of my dining room. I have kids running around. I'm on a Zoom call. And at one point, no joke, all 3 kids were on me. And I literally just lost it. And I screamed, "Guys, Mommy's on a call. Can you please just give me 1 minute so I could focus?" And in that instant, everyone just stopped and said, "That's it." And I said, "Excuse me, that's it? What? I can't pay attention right now. I'm so sorry. I'm like, everything's going on." And they're like, "That's it. That's your podcast name." And so that's how Mommy's on a Call came about. I have a cute video of it, and maybe I'll post that somewhere if I can do all the editing, but it was really a Zoom call, and you can see it all unfold. I think my son was jumping in a Spider-Man outfit. I was holding the baby. My 2-year-old was I don't know what she wanted, but everyone just wanted to be on mommy in that moment. So Mommy's on a Call is really about real talk, real moms, real life. How can we thrive as a mother, as a business person, and in life? Because really, all of those roles are what makes you you. You're not just a mom. You're not just an entrepreneur. You're not just a career woman. You're not just a wife. You're all of that. And so how can we really thrive as a mom moving forward? Over the last 3 years, I mentioned a lot has changed in my life. I went from working full-time in a corporate career to being an entrepreneur running 2 different companies. I went from having 1 kid to having 3 kids in the last 2 years. And over the last 3 years, I've focused a lot on investing in personal development and just really figuring out where I want to be in life. And over the time, I noticed a trend pop up. A lot of people always ask me, how do you do it all? You always look so put together, or just all of these different things. And I always look at them saying, excuse me, I'm kind of a hot mess. If you ask my husband, I don't think he thinks I have my shit together. But I realized that a lot of how I do it all is what I want to share on this podcast, is really inspired by all of these other moms and seeing how they do it, or how we perceive they do it all, and taking little nuggets of information from them and little tips and tricks and little hacks on how they do it, and putting it all together and seeing what works for me. One of my number one things I always tell moms in life is take what works for you and discard the rest. There's no best way to do something. It's really every single mom is different. Every single family dynamic is different. Every single situation is different. And so what works for one mom might not work for another. What works for one family might not work for another. But what I want to bring to you is just a varying perspectives on how other people do it so that you can figure out what works best for you. I really want to uncover ways that you can thrive in motherhood, business, and get the most out of your life, yourself and your work and your relationships, with a little more intention, more laughter, and more self-care every single day. My goal is that you walk away from every one of these episodes with some feeling of empowerment and a little bit of inspiration, because honestly, I know you've got this. This is also a time for me to show up as being imperfect and the real Stephanie. I would dwell on every single podcast episode that I would record and literally nitpick word for word, and I'd have them all scripted. I pretty much read half of my solo episodes because I was too afraid to put something out there. And so this is a chance for you to see the raw, uncut, behind the scenes Stephanie, who seems to be semi put together, but is also awkward, dorky, and quite a hot mess a lot of times. So who is this podcast for? Most likely, you are a mom who wears many hats and plays many roles, and you want to be the best you can be. You're looking for inspiration on how to manage it all, especially if you're a working mom, an entrepreneur, and a mom of little ones. I know it's hard to do it all, but I'm here to help bring together different people and different resources to help you achieve that. The podcast will be releasing weekly every Tuesday, and I might throw in a short Friday episode here and there if I have different short blurbs that I want to put out there. Each week, I hope to bring you either an interview with a mom or a dad on the behind the scenes of their life and business, how the roles work in their family, how do they outsource, what do they do to leave things messy, all of these tools and tips just to how to manage that. Also, I'm hoping these moms and dads have really insightful information because maybe they work in an industry that can help you. So whether it's on mindset, whether that's on wellness or fitness, different aspects on just kind of a balance. So they'll share a little bit about their business and how they can help you as a mom, and also how they do it in life. I hope to bring you solo episodes, giving you a glimpse into the many things that go behind the scenes in my own household. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm one of those people who's obsessed with researching and testing things. I love curating information, and a lot of times I'm the go-to source for things, anything ranging from hey, Stephanie, what product do you use for XYZ? Or where should I go and eat? Blah, blah, blah. And so I'm just that person who likes to do a lot of research and who likes to test things and then pretty much filter out the BS for you guys so that you can try new things. Some of the topics that I want to bring to you are either experts or segments on wellness, so mind, body, and soul. I'm really passionate about maternal mental health, about food and fitness, about spiritual stuff. So recently I've just been very involved with kind of woo-woo things, but also just mindfulness and ways to find purpose in life. I want to bring you topics on business, being a working mom, a career mom, or starting companies, just that sort of side of things, along with hacks in motherhood, how to simplify motherhood, how to maximize your relationships and manage those. And also a near and dear subject is just how do you redefine your identity once you become a mom? I know for me, I had this total different self pre-motherhood. I mean, you can go back to episode 1 of my original podcast where I go through a little bit about my story, and episode 2 where I just talk about my pivotal moments. I was a type A business school, very masculine person who discovered a new side of me when I became a mom, and then transitioning from being a mom of 1 to a mom of 2 to now a mom of 3, and also being an entrepreneur and all the other things. I also want to have on the podcast little mommy pod segments. So I call it my mommy pod, where I bring on other moms to just discuss real topics that we're faced with right now. So overall, like you, mama, I'm still trying to figure this all out. I'm seeing what works, what doesn't for me, and also what works for my family, what doesn't, what works for my business, what doesn't. Being a mom and an entrepreneur is just all about being flexible. So bear with me as I navigate running a business, managing 3 kids, and now starting distance learning with a kindergartner. So Mommy Pod, come join me in my sandbox of life and in this podcast to explore, play, and discover something new every single week. I look forward to seeing you and also hearing from you. So please subscribe to the podcast and go, if you have Apple Podcasts, rate and review this. And I look forward to hearing feedback from you every week. Please feel free to reach out if there's a subject you want to hear more about, or if you have a question, or if you just want to say hello. I'm here for you, Mommy. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Mommy's on a Call. Your support means the absolute world to me. You can find the show notes for this episode and other goodies over at mommysonacall.com. And if you enjoyed this episode or have gotten value from the podcast, I would be so grateful if you could head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a rating and review so that we can reach and empower more moms all over the world together. Thank you so much again, Mommy Pod, and I will see you here next time.